Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing a tier 9 tank that is so good that you shouldn't even look at the tier 10. This is the AMX M4 and it's the best tier 9 heavy tank in the game. Why? Because it's practically the tier 10 tank down at tier 9. It has very similar armor and an incredible 120mm caliber gun that is now actually the best gun on the tier 10 as well. Now there are slight differences between the tier 9 and the tier 10 version of this gun, mainly on the penetration. Your standard pen on the tier 10 is going to be 270, while it's only 257 on the tier 9. But I don't know about you, but I'd rather have 257mm of penetration down at tier 9 than to have 270 at tier 10. And as soon as you load the gold, then the balance is, well, equal, now with 315mm of gold pen. This vehicle, to be able to go through it, unless you can hit the weak points on top, you're going to need about 250mm of penetration to have a 50-50 chance of either going through this thing's lower plate, or if it's angling its armor a little bit, the cheeks. And that really is where the weak point is on this vehicle. If the vehicle's angled like this and you just want to shoot through this plate here, that'll be your best chance of being able to go through it. And when this vehicle is using its gun depression, good luck trying to go through the top of the tank. This vehicle's best gun by far is the stock gun, the 120mm. You shouldn't even look at the 127mm on this tank. And actually, in my opinion, on the tier 10, which I recently 3-marked as well, you shouldn't even really look at the 130mm on that vehicle. I think it's way better with the stock 120. Now this gun is just so much better than the 127 in every way apart from the alpha damage. You're going to have 400 alpha damage rather than 470 that you'll get with the 124, 128mm on this vehicle. And apart from overmatching, that's really the only advantage that you're going to have. Your accuracy is better, your aim time is better, your turret traverse dispersion is massively better as well, which means that you don't even really need to use vertical stabilizers on this tank, freeing an equipment slot up for something like a durability device, or in my case, I like to have a turbo on this vehicle, because why wouldn't you want to go faster than 35 kilometers an hour? And inside a matchup like this, well, I've got 1,960 hit points as well. I don't know why this vehicle seems to get so much HP. That feels like an absolute monster. There's a little bit of a disappearing act there with where that shell went. Oh, that's because we hit the T44. It looks like we did 309 damage to him there, probably with an extra low roll. But that's still 309 damage that we're going to be adding to our total later on in this battle. And really, this tank against tier 7s in a matchup like this does feel like cheating. This vehicle is, to all intents and purposes, like a tier 9.5 vehicle. And back before they buffed the AMX M4 somebody suggested to me that the problem with the AMX M4 was not actually the AMX M4 it was the fact that the AMX M4 was so good. However, that massively changed when Wargaming mega buffed the M4 and then that vehicle suddenly became the best tier 10 heavy tank in the game. However, it has now received 2 nerfs pretty much in the space of 6 months of each other, and now that vehicle is... It's not bad by any means, but I wouldn't say that it's the most competitive. So knowing that that Conqueror was using the Carnarvon's gun there and had amongst the highest damage per minute of any tier 9 tank, I really wanted to finish them off before they turned around and started to dump more gold rounds into me. So I ram kill them there, and I think that's a fair trade. I know I trade my health evenly. I did 138 to him, it does 132 to me, but I think it was probably worth it because if he turns around, he might be able to shoot me not even once, but twice, so I might lose 560 hit points. And sometimes it's better to just get out of the situation than to wait for a reload there. This game is an absolute ruffle stomp right now. We're up to 5,100 damage, 500 assistance, and unfortunately a gold round from the Leopard prototype there does enter my vehicle. And, oh no, and a VK shell enters my tank as well. I hate taking damage from vehicles that are 2 tiers below me. But up to 6k combined in the first 4.5 minutes, and I can tell you, I am not even done in this game. This is going to be one of the best games that I've had in any tier 9 tank over the years, although definitely still not as good as... I'd say my best tier 9 game of all time was probably still in a Skoda T50. You can still find that replay up on YouTube, where we get to the very final kill, nearly do 10,000 damage, and we only have 1 round left in the tank. Go and check that one out. I won't spoil the ending for you, whether it was going to be a heroic moment or a very disappointing moment. And apart from that, my other favorite tier 9 games of all time, there's been a lot of them. Probably the E75, good old E75, where I picked up 12 kills in that vehicle, which is still to this day my kill record. in World of Tanks. So it looks like this Leopard wasn't a bad player. Looks like he's packing 2 marks of excellence there, and he's definitely loading the right kind of ammunition to deal with this vehicle. And I can't really blame them for firing gold at this tank, because you kind of need to. This thing is just so outrageously good with regards to its armor profile, and it has a great gun as well. Everything about this tank is great. I guess the only thing that kind of sucks is the 380 meters of view range. Most tier 9 heavy tanks do have more than that, but now with Wargaming's field mods inside the game, you don't even have to worry about that, because you can just increase your view range by 3%, albeit I believe the cost of having a little bit of extra stunning time. So we locked the SU-130 PM down, hopefully allowing our SU-130 to be able to pick up a kill, but it looks like the SU-130 PM is actually more focused on dealing with the Centurion 7-1 to their side. That pesky VK manages to get a shot into the side of my vehicle once again. And while we are at 7,000 combined now that we've seen him, probably got to add on that 309 that we most likely did to the T-44. This game is neck and neck, and we've nearly spent all of our hit points. We're now a one shot to the majority of the tanks on the enemy team. The only one that we can really take a shell from is the T-44, or alternatively take a splash from the artillery. So I feel like right now I'm just a bit overwhelmed. I can't really push forwards into this crossfire of 3 different vehicles, with possibly the 2 tank destroyers down towards the south also focusing on me as well. So I think it's about time to lick our wounds, fall back, try and regroup with both our artillery and also with the tank destroyers, see if we can pick this up. So an interesting blind fire by the artillery on the enemy team. What were they thinking was up there? An IKV or a Scorpion, or thought that I fell all the way back there? A little bit bizarre. I'm asking the Scorpion for help, trying to get them forwards into the game, asking the IKV as well, because I expected that the Centurion 7-1 and the Leopard would be managing to make their way towards us. But actually, the Scorpion and the IKV managed to get some good vision against the SU-130 PM, and so I'm now going to make my way across to see if I can provide some support fire against the full health tier 8 premium tank destroyer. Now, the only problem with going and falling back into a position like this is now I'm leaving the whole of the north of the map open, and all it takes is, say, the T-44 to flank round, to get up towards the north, or the Leopard prototype or the Centurion. But I don't think we can really worry about that. So we're going to get forwards, spot the SU, maybe get our artillery into the game, and hope, above all, that the IKV is going to get a shot, or that maybe I'll get the shot as well. So we're going to go forwards into the bush, to spot through the bush, pull back behind the bush until it's transparent, so that, until it's opaque, so that we can shoot through it without getting spotted. But uh-oh, Borsig above. Does that Borsig manage to spot me? I raced forwards because I was expecting to get spotted, and that will give a very easy rear shot for the SU-130 PM. Pretty much the only thing that this tank doesn't have is side and rear armor. It is very much frontally focused with regards to its armor. But if you can keep your opponents in front of this tank, then you're not going to worry. So, my question to all of you, when you've got gun handling like this, and you've got such a powerful tank, why would you ever bother to go up to tier 10? There are quite a few vehicles in the game where that is the case, where the tier 9 tanks are just so much more fun to play, because they're way more powerful tier for tier than their tier 10 counterparts. Remember that when you jump up a tier, everyone else is getting better as well, at least in equal tier matchmaking, and you lose access to better matchmaking like you're seeing in this game against tier 7 tanks. And so I'd far rather play this vehicle against tier 7s and tier 8s than I would play the AMX M4 against a lot of tier 8s and tier 9s. Alright, so we're neck and neck on hit points here, but we're down a couple of kills. I'm trying to sling some shots into this T-44, but I'm also worried that my IKV seems to be getting destroyed by the Centurion 7-1 from above. But again, I'm hoping that I can be able to get this T-44, hoping that I can stop them from being able to get the flanking play. But unfortunately, with the Centurion 7-1 finishing off the IKV, we are now in an even more rough situation than what we were before. So unfortunately, the artillery misses the T-44, unable to do the last 55 hit points of damage, and now we have a Leopard prototype coming behind us. I can't really worry about the T-44 anymore, and I got to focus on trying to support the Scorpion, who looks like they just got hit by possibly a Borsig, possibly an SU, or possibly just a high roll from the Centurion 7-1's high explosive rounds. All right, so I'm coming around the corner, hoping to find the Leopard, but I've got to deal with the SU-130PM. Now, clearly that Leopard's flanking me, so I've got to try and recover for as long as I can to be able to get the shot in, but the Scorpion actually finishes off the Leopard, which gives me a bit of a respite. The SU-130PM dumps around into the dirt, meaning that now we can get one more shot into him, pretty much putting our damage total up to 8,000, including the blind fire, but the artillery manages to get a shot on us as well. We're down to 59 hit points now, and I'm just hoping above all that the SU doesn't manage to get a shot into us and we can manage to finish them off. Now we're up to 8,000 damage nearly that we've seen. I'm hoping that this Scorpion is going to help me. We're only down by 200 hit points now, and oh dear, there's a Borsig above me. I put a shot into the Borsig, finished them off, worried about the Centurion coming around the corner, and oh no, he does manage to get that flanking shot into the backside of my vehicle. It was a tricky scenario. I was wondering if there was going to get all in, and really, I probably should have just focused on getting myself into cover against the IKV. I was worried about whether the Centurion was going to flank round and try and come from above, and unfortunately, we couldn't cover all angles. But still, 8,300 damage that we saw, 500 assistance, and destroying a third of the enemy team single-handedly. But oh dear, the Centurion, 7-1, somehow manages to finish off the SU as well, suggesting to me that the Centurion has probably flanked around and is up in this bush line now as to the reason why they were able to get vision all the way back towards the F1 area. So the enemies now have a T-44, a Centurion 7-1, and a Lorraine standing against our one remaining vehicle. It is a Scorpion. So, MM6RWI. Take it away, buddy. You still got this game. You can manage to handle it. I was watching my wreck. I think I was probably a little bit frustrated at the time after this huge carry. Does not look like it was actually going to be enough. But, you know what? The game isn't done yet. There's 3 tanks left on the enemy team, 1 tank left on our team, and I was just hoping above all that the Scorpion was going to catch an ambush, and that's exactly what he manages to do here. He finishes off the T-44. He somehow doesn't get spotted, or at least his sixth sense doesn't go off. I say, bro, nice! Play to win, mate. 3 minutes left. Go for it. And then also the artillery decides to get forwards, either to get an ambush shot off, or maybe to just try and start capping. So the Scorpion unfortunately takes a big old hit, most likely from a high explosive round from the Centurion 7-1, which also knocks out the gun, so now the repair kit is gone. The artillery comes around this corner. The Scorpion isn't even pointing his gun straight towards him. Luckily, the artillery misses the shell, and the Scorpion doesn't miss in point-blank range. So now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have the final showdown. 1 versus 1. 3-kill Scorpion versus 5-kill Centurion 7-1. And I was just hoping that my Scorpion was going to deny the Centurion the satisfaction of getting a top gun in this game. Not because I'm remotely bitter about the fact that he shut me down and stopped me from getting over 9,000 damage. Not at all. So the Scorpion can destroy the Centurion 7-1 probably about 7 or 8 times out of 10, considering he's got 424 hit points and the Scorpion has 490 alpha damage, while the Centurion 7-1 is always going to destroy the Scorpion. So in this kind of a situation, it would probably be a misplay for the Centurion 7-1 to load a high explosive round, because the armor piercing round will be able to overmatch so many of the Scorpion's plates, as well as also having the better shell velocity. I believe probably the APCR still has the better shell velocity over the Hesh on that tank. And so I would be loading the AP in this scenario. So is the Scorpion going to go around the corner? I think the Centurion 7-1 is still hanging around above, but maybe the Centurion 7-1 isn't confident enough to advance towards the Scorpion like the T-44 did. But in this kind of a situation, the higher tier tank with the more hit points should definitely be the one that tries to make the advance. If I was the Centurion 7-1, I would probably slinky my way down here, go up, try and get underneath the gun line, go in possibly towards the cap circle, or sneak around here, see if I proxy spot him in this kind of an area. If I can't, then slink round again, and then maybe might make my way up around the corner and hopefully end up hull down against the Scorpion. And when you end up hull down against the Scorpion, there's not much hope. All right, we've got 30 seconds left on the game. The tension was thick, and the stakes were high. With such a huge game here in the AMX M451, I was only dreaming about what kind of base experience I would get if the Scorpion can be the hero and pull off the win. With 10 seconds left, I was starting to realize that this was going to be a horrible, stinky end to the round with a draw where neither of the two players managed to find themselves. Well, at least, thank goodness, with the Centurion maybe possibly catching the Scorpion when he lurched forwards at the end, but luckily it wasn't to be. So this was the high caliber of high calibers for tier 9 tanks, 8,742 damage dealt. This was like 4 times the damage of what anyone else on my team was able to achieve, and pretty much the entirety of my team's damage combined. This was 1,099 base, but that also doesn't include Courageous Resistance. With Courageous Resistance, this was nearly a 1,700 base experience game, dealing damage to 11 out of the 15 players and making a decent profit. So the AMX M451, it is the best tier 9 heavy tank still in the game, and it's so darn good that I probably wouldn't recommend jumping up to tier 10. And now that Wargaming is so heavily nerfed the buffed AMX M454, considering how much more fun, at least in my opinion, the matchmaker is at tier 9, I think it'd be crazy to give up on enjoying the better of the two M4 MLE tech tree tanks. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this massive damage game in a tier 9 tech tree tank. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Friday, I'm going to be going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby, giving you new tokens so you can spend them on a variety of loot, or maybe finally get the final few for your tier 5 premium tank. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.